Okay, perfect. Okay, so hi everyone. Welcome to the year-end live presentation for CURAE, which is the online masterclass on curatorial practice led by artist and curator Erik Kessels. And today we will see how the participants from the whole group developed their project in this 8-month program. And yeah, we look forward to share everything with you. Erik, I don't know if you want to say anything.
Yeah, I think this has been a very nice journey, like in the month that we worked together. Yeah, what I like to say, it's really nice to see how everyone also individually developed. And yeah, today they are going to show, yeah, also talk a little bit about where they started, where they ended up, and their project. And yeah, that's really nice to see everyone in a completely different way, but yeah, I think a lot of them really worked also on their own personality and how they would like to present their work and how they curated their own work.
Cool. Thanks, Erik. So yeah, let's start. Katerina, you're the first. The stage is yours.
Okay, hello everyone. So I'm sharing my screen. Let me know whether you see the presentation.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, cool. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Katerina Kouzmitcheva, and I'm a photographer from Belarus, but based in Wrocław in Poland. And I enrolled into this course with the idea to enrich my photography practice rather than to learn how to curate works of others. I wanted to have distance to my own work. And initially, I planned to work with a project of mine called Betonium about architectural identity in former Eastern European countries. But from the very first sessions with Erik and being inspired by his approach, I changed the topic and I understood that I would like to dare to challenge myself and to start working with something completely new and completely raw. That only this way I will benefit from the whole this project. And this is how this work, How to Eat at Night, that you see right now here, appeared. So as I said that I'm coming from Belarus and having an opportunity to go there and to visit my parents. From last year, I started to take visual notes of the place, and I realized that the pictures that I had are kind of bringing this absurd feeling and absurd situation, just the same that I have been there, been in a country with totalitarian regime and with propaganda. And this became an impulse to create this work, to show how it is to grow up in a country where propaganda is all around. When you see the beautiful place around you, but you do understand that something is wrong going on there. And I think through this work, I wanted to tell not only about my experience, but also about whole generations that grow up in such circumstances. So making those visual notes, we also thought with Erik that it would be following this idea of propaganda and manipulation. It would be also nice not only to use my document for images, but actually to do those manipulations on the images itself. And this is how there's additional layers appeared in my work. And I started to mix the original, just documentary pictures of mine with the collages that I do that show this fabric of all the ideas and dreams that propaganda produced there. The whole idea of this set of images is actually to mix it this way that after looking at all of them all together, you start actually to question which one of them is manipulated or it's a real one. It is the same as you feel being in a country with propaganda, that you start to question what is real, what is unreal, or maybe you're not questioning, but you're feeling that something is wrong. For example, here, this is a pure documentary picture. But certainly, Belarus for me is my motherland. So it's not a surprise that in my work also some motifs of fairy tale appears coming from my childhood, and something that usually fairy tale is given to us by our grandparents. But in my country, where this history is erased or it's manipulated, those fairy tales are passed by the authorities. And that's why I think that this kind of like a bit of melancholical motives appear in the work. And this is also to reflect my own trauma of this native landscape being ruined, and this being ruined my identity in all of this. So creating this set of images, certainly with all the experience and curation of Erik, we were thinking also how to proceed further and how to present this work. And following the idea of propaganda, how it is translated to people, how it is given, and usually it's through the TV or social medias or newspapers. So this idea of newspaper that you see here on the screen and you see in my hands appeared, and this is how the work was, how my images were further presented. At the same time, talking about the curation, talking about the space and the exhibitions, I was really intrigued to create some kind of like object that also could enrich my work. And this is how I got into this idea to create a palette where I transferred images that I took in Belarus, not just because of I have a lot of them, but it's also to refer to Belarus as a country that is famous for its export of wood, and also as palette is something that is usually used to move, and it's usually like Belarus. It was all the time in its history under some kind of rule, either Russia or Poland or some other country. So in a way to show this also movement and a little bit of trash, and that's why also I went to outside and made the same specific installation with this palette, also referring to this attitude as to the trash country. But I took it further, and thinking also about this commodity and again about the wood, I decided to collect those boxes and thinking how to present actually the images itself, not only on this palette with transfers. And that's a prototype I made at home, and decided that why not actually not to have it just digitally, but to make it in reality. So having an opportunity to test my ideas with my colleagues in the abandoned swimming pool, I took it all together. And here you could see this documentation of mine of a real, maybe not in the large scale, but still in a scale, and where I introduced the palette, my prints, and this wooden objects, and also newspaper. And even you could see here some candies or sweets. And this is maybe where we come to the point why actually the work is called How to Eat at Night. Because that's the question itself for me is absurd, because why do we need to eat at night? But it's the same for me, like propaganda is absurd. And so that How to Eat at Night for me refers to this kind of like giving you recipe how to behave. And this is exactly what propaganda does. It tells us how to perceive this or that situation, how to think. And this is so that's how it came. But it's also a little bit of a joke because the candy, the first image that you saw, a bear with a candy is coming. It's a very popular fabric in Belarus that produces those sweets. And actually, for this work, I went to Belarus and also took these original candies that I put on an installation, and in a way also showing people that they wanted to taste it. And that's again how propaganda is doing. Give you something that you want to take and kind of like tells you what it wants. So on different levels, I was trying to play with this context of propaganda in my installation. And here you see also documentation, people looking at this newspaper, also testing the candies and leaving the papers afterwards. And this is here some of those examples of the layouts from my newspaper. And also thinking, taking it further, being in a space, and also not only to give us a visual context, I was thinking to create, and I created a piece of music where I did a Morse-coded Belarusian recipe for draniki. What does it mean? The whole idea is that when you have propaganda and you're prosecuted for everything, you start to have fear and you start to hide even simple things. So such simple thing as recipe of national potato cake, I gave to Morse with the signals of Telegram and WhatsApp, the social medias that we use to communicate and to hide something that we don't want authorities to know. And so that also piece was at my installation, also given this strange ambivalent fear. So this is how this work has developed, and I'm really, really happy that I was able, actually, that I did this challenge and went from the very beginning without actually nothing, just visual notes of documentary pictures, but developing together with Erik and with my group the whole concept of living in a country with propaganda, because I understood that curation is something, it's a storytelling, yes, it's very linked to the context, to the narration, and this is a place where you place the questions and where you confront the visitors with the questions that you have in your work. And maybe at the beginning I also told you that I changed the topic that I worked in, but I also would like to say that due to this experience, actually, I was able to work on the initial idea, and I could boast a little bit that this Friday we opened an exhibition in Belgrade, in Museum of Applied Art, where I created myself my work, and working with this scale and with this new knowledge that I got here at this class. So also sharing you a little bit of this views of this exhibition. So thank you so much. Thank you, Erik, for all your inspiration, your knowledge, your openness, and your attitude to us. I also want to pass sincere thanks to Rosa, who was all the time with us, and certainly to my colleagues and to group. It was an amazing journey, and I hope that we all stay in touch. Yes, and I hope that I learned to keep it not that long. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think it's very nice to see. I mean, you really developed a lot also, and it's also very nice to see that you really dare to go into the unknown. You know, you push yourself constantly. I mean, it's also daring the way you like to present. You know, the way you show your work and the way you dare to present it. I mean, that's something has a great future. And I just wanted to ask you what for this work, like the latest work you did, what is now the next step? Are you going to present it somewhere, or are you going to pitch it somewhere?
Yes. Actually, I want to do simultaneously to work further on it, because I still think it has a lot of potential, because I have a lot of material, and I want to maybe to go into the form of the photo book also. But I want to pitch it because having the material and also having my propositions for the exhibition, I think it has the potential also to be shown already. Yes, yeah. And as I like to work with the space, I also feel the potential actually to adapt this to new spaces and to bring also to work with the space for these additional layers. Great. So that's my plan. I am not going to hide it. So want to speak to, especially taking into consideration the geopolitical context of this world. Yeah. And I think it could be quite, unfortunately, maybe relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Katerina. So now is time for Louise. Mm-hmm. I will share the screen for her.
Thanks, Rosa. Thank you.
Okay, this one. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move this slideshow.
Make it full screen. Yep.
Yeah. Can you see the full screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, Louise, you can go.
Fantastic. Thank you. Oops, it's gone from there. Okay, great. Can you hear me okay and see me all right?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to start by saying thank you, actually. It's been lovely to be involved. It's been quite a challenging year for me, but this has been one of the highlights when I've managed to attend, and have really found, Erik, your advice and your challenge really helpful. So thank you. And thanks, Rosa, for all your kindness and support during the project, and lovely to have met you guys as well. So yeah, I joined the CURAE project, was really pleased to get through, and basically there were a few things I wanted to push into new territory. So I'm looking at installation work for the first time. And I also had a solo show that's coming up in December, and I thought that this would be a fantastic time to get some thoughts and feedback from practitioners who I admire. So I was thrilled to get through. And the project is called Till All Is Correct. So what I'd like to do is just to share with you some of the steps that have brought me to where I am. Just to let you know, so I'm an artist and a writer, and I'm also an educator, and I'm also training to be a therapist as well. So I'm living in the UK at the moment, and I've been working as an artist for about 12 years. So I think, Rosa, can I move on the slides, or oops. Rosa, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm moving.
Oh, great. Thank you. I just think, what slide are you on? I'm on.
Now is kind of like part of the bed or the couch.
Okay. All right. It's slightly different to what I can see. Don't worry. Okay, I can see it. Yeah. So the background to some of my work. Rosa, could you just go back to the slide just before, very quickly? Thank you.
Okay. Cool.
Great, thank you. Yeah, if it helps to know, so I've always been quite interested since I started my work in challenging strict ideology, if you like, and ways in which organisations place a kind of thought control and manipulation upon those who join them. It's linked to my own background, and it's also linked to just an interest in ways in which vulnerable individuals can be kind of corralled into particular movements of all kinds. And so I started to work this piece of work called The Catchers is some early work, began to use figurative and kind of prop and object to symbolize the paradox between control and kind of comfort in a strange way as well. There's some paradoxes in the work. This work here, Creed, looks at ideas of ways in which trying to unravel elements of maybe sacred texts that we've been told about, and to work out what they might mean for us, and to also discard. So it's been quite a process for me in terms of using photography as a tool, as a kind of confession, if you like. Rosa, I think we've got mixed screens. That's it. So I'm just going to move on to the next slide now, Rosa, which is, thank you. Thanks, great. And I've also been interested in performance work as well, and using the camera as a space to perform protest and yes, to kind of be brave in the work that I was making. I'm just going to move on to the next slide. Thanks, Rosa. And so as it began to come towards the solo show, I started to look during COVID and examine this notion of the exile. And I just wanted to read a quotation here from Edward Said. And Said says that exile is as strangely compelling to think about, but terrible to experience. It is the unhealable forced rift between a human being and a native place, between the self and its true home. Its essential sadness can never be surmounted. So I'm trying to deal with, as an artist, elements of the reality of trauma alongside the thought of hope, the investigations of hope, and if that's possible. Just going to move on to the next slide. Thank you. And just to let you know that the solo show is taking place in America. I'm with a person that Aaron Rosen, a colleague of mine who now has a gallery called the Parsonage Gallery, and we're working on some installation work. So can I move on to the next slide, Rosa? Thank you. The CURAE project has been really helpful for me to think about the ways in which I want to present the work. And this quotation here, the death of human empathy, is one of the warning signs of a culture about to fall into barbarism. This is a Hannah Arendt quote, and just a drawing on paper here that I've been making. that starts to examine ways in which as visual artists we can or we may present trauma in a way that is ethical, that is possible, and that encourages empathy, but also encourages action. A very complex way of trying to work out how I could do that with CURAE's help. Got the next slide, Rosa, thank you. So the seed of the work, I would say, comes initially from my own history and it's interesting, begins to explore the death of my great uncle Mozek Fago in the Warsaw Ghetto. And his story, like so many others erased by the Holocaust, became a point of entry for exploring inherited trauma and the ethical challenges of representing it. But what's happened, and what I really wanted to gain some help with doing by joining the course and by speaking with Erik, was how this could be widened to a more global context, and specifically within the rise of global violence and conflict and the tragic breakdown of communication between various peoples. So rather than reconstruct one specific trauma, I want to try and construct a space for an encounter, but a collective encounter. Next slide, Rosa, thank you. And these are just some of the images. I'm just going to quietly scroll through so you can see some of the work that's been coming out, partly from visual representations of the tropes of violence, if you like, images of violence and interjections into historical violence. And this is this idea of the fence and this notion of, these are kind of measuring tools, if you like. So this was based on an image that I saw, which was made with a particular person from one particular race, having their facial features measured as a fixed point to kind of decide upon who they were, how important they were, and whether they could be discarded or not. Thank you, Rosa. So to give you a quick, I'm just looking at the time, making sure I'm not going over time. So the installation overview that was worked on with Erik and with the group is not a conventional exhibition. The hope is that when I get to the exhibition in December, it will be immersive, it will be sensorial, and it will be intentionally disorienting. So the photographs document the ephemera of abandonment and traces of lives interrupted by violence. So they don't evidently photograph the actual violence, but those traces of lives that have been interrupted by and destroyed by violence. And what was really, really helpful in the CURAE time and time with Erik was to look at this notion of what the scenography, I found that so helpful, Erik, what the scenography of an exhibition looks like. So I started to develop this notion of a narrative arc where the exhibition has a prologue, which is a threshold. Then it has an act one, which is this notion of an edifice. The audience moves through into Act 2. I'll just unpack that in a minute, which is a shoemaking machine. Act 3 is this notion of, I've called it exhumed resurrection, and the epilogue, which I call the echo chamber. So if I could just move on to the next slide. Thank you. So the hope is that the audience enter with a straightforward print and a text that just helps them to adjust themselves, a little bit like a Marina Abramovich, where she encourages that meditative space. If I could move on to the next slide, Rosa. The idea is that the visitors are given headphones and they're also asked to remove their shoes. It's something about trying to represent and present trauma in an atmosphere of respect and delicacy, and for it to be an encounter. But what also is set alongside this silent space, and we talked about ways in which the room would be padded with this black velvet so that it's very soft, it's very silent, but it's quite disorienting, is that alongside that, yes, the next slide, thank you, will be placed this, viewers will listen to, I won't play it now, but it's the sound of tinnitus. And one of the things that can happen during trauma is that your senses upend themselves. And tinnitus is one thing that can happen when you're in the middle of violent experience or trauma. And so there'll be the the comparison between silence alongside this disorienting sound and what Brandon Labelle calls an auditative methodology. So it's a kind of sacred quiet, and then that collapses and sound is very fractured and unsettling. I can move on to the next slide, Rosa, thank you. Act 2 is where we start to see, just see if this starts to play. Is this a video that will be made by myself, which I still have to do at this point, where I'm trying to make shoes again. This notion of the shoe is this idea of of migration, of trying to go from one place to another, ideas of home making or losing a sense of home, and this impossible way in which as artists we're trying to repair a historical moment. I will be making these shoes with very delicate material that continually fall apart and deteriorate. So it's an impossible attempt, but it's an attempt. It's some kind of intervention. So if I can move on, Rosa, that would be great. Thank you. Act 3 is what I call resurrection. This is an AI generated, and I just wanted to clarify that those images at the top are much more figurative than I plan to do in the actual exhibition. So I hope to have the suggestion of body, but not the actual, what looks like actual bodies. Again, that's this kind of being very careful ethically in how one represents notions of trauma. And towards the final part of the exhibition is the epilogue, and that's a space where at the end of the exhibition, I ask the audience to remove their shoes, but to enter this space of informed silence. And what you see there is a scroll, an imagined scroll, which will be an amalgamation of at least 10 other languages and ways in which those languages are written. And they are a kind of a dialogue. And when I was younger, when I learned French language, for example, I had to learn tenses, and you would repeat, and you'd repeat, I am sorry, you are sorry, he is sorry, they are sorry, and it's some kind of attempt to respond, for the audience to respond, and also to remind ourselves that this is a global conversation, that it might start with my own Jewish history, but it moves outwards. And just the last slide, Rosa, thank you. And I guess I just wanted to also reiterate this ethical dimension here that's been really important to me to talk through with Erik and to talk through with other individuals. And it's this notion of impossible images. It's a book by Levitt, Hornstein and Silberstein, because they say that to show is not necessarily to reveal. And so I'm trying to echo that and to resist clarity, to refuse easy interpretation, and not necessarily to show violence, but to show the fragments of violence, the missing, the muffled, and the broken syntax of experience. So hopefully it's not about the voyeurism of pain, but it's about honouring its complexity. So that's me. I hope I haven't gone over time. That's my presentation.
Will be so English. Huh? You are very polite.
Yeah, I tried to be much less polite, but it's not going to work, Erik.
No, but it's. I think it's really got. You know, you had a very strong year, but I mean, I'm really want to compliment you with getting it so beautifully together. Because it's now really like there's a beautiful narration in it, and also an exhibition with many senses. You know, like with the sound, with the smell, with the touch, and you know, like this is very very special. Something you know, like in this with this topic, I've never seen before, and yeah, I wish you a lot of luck with the actual exhibition. But I think that it also after that this exhibition has much more potential. I mean, you cannot in every place show everything, but yeah, I hope that there would be a place where that you can really show a lot of it. Yeah, but thanks very much.
Thank you, and thanks Erik so much for all your help. It's been fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks, Louise. Now it's time for Alessandro.
Yeah. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. try to be fast. So I start to sharing my screen. So, hi, I'm Alessandro. I'm from Italy. I'm based in Milan. I'm a photographer. I'm 26 years old. And today I present my work that's called Mutaforma and is presented as a visual documentation of Pagani Foundation. That was the first park museum in Europe, founded in 1965 by a man called Enzo, who was an art enthusiast and an entrepreneur living in the Milan hinterland in this small town called Castellanza. And this man had ambitions to transform his small town into an art hub where art and nature could coexist and have the same importance and the same space. So he started to exhibit his private collection in this big area that I can show here. This is the planimetry of the museum. And he started to exhibit his private collection here. And after, with the help of the friendships that he made in the art world, he realized his dream. He's turning this place into the benchmark of the European sculpture, at least until his death in 1991. Where after that, this place was gradually forgotten by institution and residents. So coming to the present days, that maybe it's open 2 or 3 times for a year just to guided tour instead of the past where open every day and free to visit. So these sculptures were created to be displayed in open air with no regards with the weathering that could change the properties over time. And you can see on the map the artwork that I decided to shoot. And I decided to shoot them in 2 different ways. I set out to cover the sculptures with different techniques and materials, as if to protect them from the deteriorations as much as I can. And in combination, I want to take macro photos of the different materials have been marked by climatic erosion. And I'm going to show the images.
Yeah, so for every sculpture, you invented a new way of isolating it.
Yeah, a way that maybe I found the sculptures in the space, and maybe I try to create the right way to cover. Like in this case, maybe the sculptures it's at the border of the museum, covered by trees, and I use the same materials that you maybe separate the trees for other space, maybe in the football pitch and or in the court. Or maybe in this case that are representing people, I try to cover them with the thermic cover that you use maybe in the mountains, because I found it quite funny to mix these techniques, and I think that it's a way that people maybe it's not into this world immediately understand my intention. And my intent is also it's to make this place and for the people who lives around it to rediscover it. Just because too often we look through the big city maybe to find some place like that, and also because I was born in the same in a city near of there. And my photography was born and developed in this context, so many of my work have made at their base the concept of the provincial's revenge, a feeling that maybe a lot of people could share. So I since that starting from my childhood, when my grandfathers for the first time bring me there, I found this place completely different from the other place that I can find in my city. So I found that this is like my natural progress of my photography to shoot this place. And I have to say thank you for you guys, just because, you know, Erik, my starting point of this project, it's quite different for that. For a moment, I'm obsession with this project, and starting with these lessons, I managed to work with in this museum, and this is my outcome. It's quite different from the beginning, but I'm really happy. It's still an ongoing project at the moment. But then the result of this project, it's like a box that contains a small book with a retrospective of this place, and all the images printed on separated sheets. Just because after I studied how these sculptures reached the museum, I don't found a unique criteria or a chronological order to for this status to reach the museum. So I give the possibility to the viewers to choose their order to see it.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, it's really nice to see also this project, of course, you had to approach immediately the museum and you worked with them together. And I spoke to you many times how difficult that is also, but you pushed for it, and you completely, you still maybe have to do a few, but for a lot, you did already a lot of work. And the other thing which I also like is that, in a way, you made the curation already on the spot. So your work, the photographs that you make, they already have a sort of curation in there. And you made also from such a place which has so many dominant objects and strong objects, you managed to make it into your own work and make your own work of it. You have to push a lot further, I think, because but you are a big talent, and you're the youngest on the course, and not the youngest in how you approach things. So that is really a big compliment, I think.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alessandro.
Thank you, guys.
Now, next one is Sera.
Hi, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen. Can you see it properly? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, just to give you a bit of a background as to why I applied for this masterclass, is my intention was primarily to get more insight into curation and the technical side of things, which I got, but I got so much more in terms of personal development that is reflected, I hope, in this body of work. So a bit of a background about myself is that I am an independent artist curator and also educator based in Malta. And I have a background intrinsically in graphic design and photography. But my work when it comes to teaching sort of bridges the two. It bridges design and photography. And I also take on roles in curation with different entities here in Malta. My project is called Where Thorns Lie, and I'll be unfolding as I explain throughout this presentation. But I want to first start off with the starting point of it all, which was a look at my archive, my family archive. So I got my passion for photography from my grandfather, who was a very, very dear friend to me, and he was fascinated with taking photos, not just of the whole family, but in particular of me and my sister. So I had a look back at this archive, and I noticed that I had a lot of photos of myself, which I'm so lucky to have, thanks to him. But after his passing, I have no photos of myself. So I started to think, but why is that? Why do I not like to be seen, especially in front of the camera? And I feel so comfortable behind the camera. And most of my work was being developed around the stories of people and focusing on their perspectives on things. So this got me to really have an encounter with myself and to start to question a lot of the representation of myself in my work. And particularly a question that Erik proposed to me is that he was asking me, okay, so you look, which was a big compliment, really put together, but what's in your back garden? It's as if I can, I can just see your front facade. So this got me to think deeper and also to push myself to showcase a point of vulnerability for me, and something that is really important to me as not just an artist but a person is that therapy is a big part of my life. It gives me a big toolbox, and I think I speak very openly about it. So I decided to show my back garden and to actually have a therapy session in my back garden with my therapist. It was not easy at all, but I feel that I really grew through this process of both being the artist and the curator of this work. So to give you a bit of a background of this work is that I invite you as the viewer to this rarely seen space. The garden, as you can see, my garden is not neat at all, but that's the whole point, because in therapy, things unfold that you might want to hide. And in this back garden, I engage in a therapy session, and a dear friend of mine documented the session who I trust. I just want to underline that this is a literal demonstration of the back garden, but it's also a metaphorical representation of the space that is unseen. And it's a deliberate act of openness that I decided to engage with. So I decided to obviously then showcase this in an installation. And in particularly, I wanted to create a structure that showcases all the images next to each other, almost in sequence of how it starts and then how it ends. Because in therapy, you start off feeling well sometimes, and then things progress when you open up. These images are showcased in this structure, and I invite the viewer to enter the structure, literally to crawl in, because there is no space to easily get in. Similarly to what you do when you go to someone's house, it's you feel like you're entering this really private space. And I invite the viewer to sit on the same chair that I use in the therapy session and listen to an audio of a letter that I wrote to myself. So this is the only peek that the viewer can see. And it's just the first glimpse of the work, and then they have to crawl in to see the images and the sequence of the work. Now I invite you to listen to this piece, this letter, over a video, a letter that I wrote to myself, and that I think is very much, it was the starting point and the end point of this work.
I've been putting this off for quite some time, but I feel it's finally needed. I've always wondered, what are you truly afraid of, and how do you manage to hide it so well? Perhaps even you can't fully grasp the depths of your own fears, the things that linger in your backyard, the ones you bury under layers of quietness and restraint. You've become so skilled at keeping them hidden, even from yourself at times. You're the kind of person who'd rather go unnoticed in a crowded room, preferring silence over small talk, blending into the background without a trace. It's ironic, really, given that your work demands the opposite. Lecturing, standing on stage, facing a sea of eyes fixed on you, your worst nightmare. And yet you push through it, insisting that growth lies in discomfort. You face it head on, or at least that's what it looks like to the outside world. To what they don't see, what they'll never truly know, is the weight of the imposter syndrome you carry. Writing this feels like my heart is shattering into pieces, maybe because I'm scared too. But of what? Of you, perhaps. You've always been your toughest critic. For so long, you were in a space that told you weren't enough, that you had to hold it all together flawlessly from such a young age. And now that's all you know. You keep people at arm's length out of fear of intimacy. You don't invite them in. Instead, you leave them standing in the front garden where everything looks neat and pretty. The thorns, they remain hidden. You rarely let people hug you, really hug you. Because somewhere deep down, you've convinced yourself that vulnerability is weakness. You brace yourself for failure before you even begin, because disappointment is something you'd rather avoid at all costs, and so you overcompensate. striving for perfection in everything you do. But is perfection really as fulfilling as you once thought? Someone recently asked if you ever cry or scream. The honest answer, yes, you do cry, softly in solitude when no one can see. And screaming, you last screamed 3 years ago, alone in your car. Since then, silence has been your safe space. If you screamed aloud, people might notice. But maybe it's time they did.
So I'd like to end with that video is with a question that I asked myself at the start and I ask myself now is why did I resist being truly seen even by myself? And I think I was really scared of what people would think of the vulnerability, of showing vulnerability in that sense, and to be seen, to be judged and to be criticized. But I think it's a big part of our work. So I'm really, really glad and thankful for you all for allowing me to be vulnerable in this space, and for Erik for pushing me to engage in this work, and Rose as well, everyone. And also these people who are part of the project, my therapist, my dear friend who photographed everything, and the Arts Council of Malta who supported me in terms of me pursuing this masterclass. So thank you very much.
Well, very nice, Sera. Yeah, really nice. I mean, very nice to see that you dare to take this. You did it from the beginning till the end yourself, and yeah, I mean, it's almost like you looked yourself in the mirror, and literally, but I mean, it's also nice that in the end you made it into an exhibition. You have done the curation of it. You have done the installation. Yeah, so it's from the beginning till the end, and I mean, it was very. Yeah, you can be proud of yourself. I mean, that's very good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I mean, you have to tomorrow. You have to go on, huh?
Yeah.
You should not stop.
Oh, no.
Thank you, Sera, for sharing this journey that you did with us.
Thank you so much for giving me the space.
Now we have Marcel.
Oh, to start my audio. Sorry. So, do you see it?
Yes.
Wonderful. Good. My name is Marcel Rauschkolb, and I'm a photographer from Germany. And in my work, I often deal with historical subjects. And for this masterclass, I started a project on the life of the British mathematician Alan Turing, whose life and work fascinated me for a longer time, and whose thoughts on computers, artificial intelligence, biology are still relevant today. The title, Yours in Distress, is from the end of a letter he sent to a friend, and I've chosen this because it summarizes the story so well, but it also shows a kind of, yeah, maybe sarcastic humor. And about the project and its execution, most of Turing's wartime work was hidden from the public until the mid-70s. And also, there are rumors surrounding his death in 1954. And with these, say, secrets about his life, I decided to use crime mystery novels where the reader has to solve the riddle while reading as a kind of leitmotif or metaphor for the works. And in this course, I also tried to develop new approaches to create and present my work, moving away from just hanging images on the walls towards something more three-dimensional, which doesn't have to be obsessive. Not everything must become an object, but a good mix will make it enjoyable. And I started with the works, and the first two panels are the Apple and the Cambridge 5. And the left panel, two wooden panels in the exhibition. And on the left, I used the headlines of articles about his death in 1954, together with images of mine illustrating the story. And the story was that his housekeeper found him dead in his bed. On the table was an apple with a bite taken out, and there was an almond scent in the room. And so the police stated that he had committed suicide with cyanide caused by a depression, and friends and his mother assumed it was an accident caused by an experiment he did. The right panel is 2 years before, gives some background, what happened. 2 years prior, Alan had met a young man, and this guy acted in collusion with a petty thief. The thief broke into Alan's house, stole some things. Alan reported this to the police, and when it came out that he was in a relationship with a man, he was accused and had to do a hormone therapy which should heal homosexuality. This was the public opinion in this time. And his nephew said about this caused him to grow breasts, and I imagine mixed him up in all sorts of ways. And with this and all the secrets he knew, a biographer stated that at that point in the Cold War, the authorities must have seen this man as one of the West's biggest security risks. And all this came exactly at the wrong time, because the state kept a very close watch on him. And 1 year before, in 1951, 2 spies who were part of a group called the Cambridge Five had defected to Moscow, and this resulted in a public scandal, and the Secret Service would not be caught napping again. Then about his childhood. For this image, the basis of this is a letter he wrote to his parents when he was 11 years old, and it was written with a fountain pen he had built by himself. And you see the sketch here in the image. And it also shows on the top right his very close friend Christopher Markham, who died very young with 19 years. And Markham was a kind of an idol for him. And yeah, then we go on to, do you play chess? This is a text, a very simple text, conversation from a book where he described the so-called Turing test. And at first, it's very simple, but if you try to visualize it, it raises a question: who's white, who's black, from which position do they start in the game? And there's a text about it saying that it contains a hidden message about resolving ambiguity and knowledge representation, and may be inserted by Turing as an instrument for us to find. The electronic athlete. He was a very good athlete, especially a runner, and he came 5th in the qualifying event for the 1948 Olympic Games, but a leg injury put an end to further serious running for him. Another activity, but now as a child in 1926, was that he went from Southampton to Sherborne on the left, which is 104 kilometers, because he didn't want to miss the first day at his new school, and there was a general strike, so the trains didn't run, and he did this by bike. And to this image, I add in an exhibition this little table with a small text describing the situation and a small model of a vintage bicycle. Not a well-dressed man, and these are my favorites in the whole project, because there are several stories about his unconventional relationship with clothing, or being well-dressed or not well-dressed. And I think these 2 close-ups represent this very well with his bent collars. And as an addition to these images, I will present some quotes about his clothing or way of clothing embroidered on a piece of fabric. This certainly can be done is, yeah, the story about the first computer chess program. And he did it in 1948. And in 7 simple questions, he asked if a machine can play chess successful, and answers that this certainly can be done. And the result is the first chess program, Turochamp, which he had to simulate it on paper because there were no computers at this time that could run this software. And to show the questions, I put them on little index cards and would bring them on the wall with a nail or so next to the images. Then, Hello, We Are Breaking Machines. This is about his work in the Second World War, breaking the code of the German messages. And I will start here with an Enigma, a replica of an Enigma machine used by the Germans to encrypt the messages. And this machine has an unbelievable number of possible settings, so it's very difficult to break the codes. So, and for breaking the codes, Turing invented a method to compare these 2 messages with several feet-long sheets with the alphabet printed on it, and it's here below the machine. And these papers were printed in Banbury, and so he called the whole process Banburismus. And then these partially decrypted messages were sent to mechanical computers. And according to experts, Turing's contributions might have helped to end the war 2 years earlier. Who is it about? This will give the viewer or the visitor some more background information about his life, and I will put this in an old photo album, some images, the whole press clippings, the whole press articles, and people can read it, can go through this little book. And this is the last information that he has been given a posthumous royal pardon in 2013, years after his death. So his work he did in the Second World War was honored very, very late. Now, the exhibition layouts. I used Darmstadt studio at Darmstadt's Kunsthalle as an example because I know the space very well. And I started with a two-dimensional plan in InDesign, but I had so many three-dimensional stuff. And so I switched to a 3D software and built the whole space and the objects. But it was also a bit difficult, so I started to build little small-scale cardboard prototypes of some of the artworks, what resulted in a complete model in 1:20 of the space. And this is a very nice way to test your exhibition, your concept, because you can very easily rearrange the things. You can print it a bit bigger, a bit smaller. You can change the position of it. And yeah, it was great fun to do this. And now, what I've done so far is for me a good solid foundation for further work on this project. It's not finished because I still haven't covered some aspects of Turing's life so far, but I think it will give a good impression of the subject, of its visualization, and how it will go on. Yeah.
Great.
And
Really
thank you
nice
all.
really nice to see how, I mean, we have seen you working on this for a long time, and then you went from, from left to right, from top to bottom. You went everywhere with this.
Yeah.
It's really nice to see that today you have closed the gap, and now it's all together. So it's really, I mean, because you went everywhere with it, and which is nice, because now you see also how you now it really works, like now and at one point you have to finish it, huh? So let me know when that is, huh? Then
okay.
I can
I'll
come to
send
the
you a
exhibition.
postcard.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you,
Great.
Erik, for your advice, Rosa for the perfect organization, and all the others for listening to my stuff and for showing me your work.
Very,
Okay.
very nice. Yeah, it was nice. Thanks.
Thank you, Marcel. And now we have Maria Camila.
Yep. Let me. All right, I think it's there, right?
Yes.
Okay. All righty. Hello, my name is Maria Camila. I'm originally from Bogota, Colombia. I was based in Chicago, the US, where I went to school for photography and then went on to study and work in art curation. And I am now in Buenos Aires, Argentina. My personal goal with this masterclass was to work on an exhibition idea. So I'm going to show you how it started and how it progressed during our time here in the masterclass. So I've always been interested in the continuous development of photography and the constant crisis that seems to occur every time a new technology is introduced. Last year, I spent time researching the ethics of AI in photography, trying to find rules, a framework, or guidelines for imagery today. Eventually, I hit a point where I thought that it's happening regardless. It's going to happen with or without regulations. So instead of staying in the theory, I shifted my attention to what artists and photographers were making right now. What you're seeing is my desktop on any given day, where I would fall into the rabbit hole of the subject and just consume a bunch of information. So the shift that happened led me to artists working on photography's margins using experimental techniques and non-lens techniques. I connected and reached out to various photographers here in Buenos Aires mostly, who were completely unbothered by the ethics of AI. Some of them were Louise Gonzalez and Martin Bolatti, who kind of used this moment of change to further their practice. They kind of just work not in the conventional photographic representations. So that took me to my first idea, the non-photo show, which was a photography exhibition with no photographs. The first idea was an exhibition that showcases work that challenged traditional photography process. But as some of you may know, after working towards that idea and discussing that idea here in the group, that idea, it is now paused. But a new idea emerged from the collection of artists that were originally selected for that show. So the exhibition idea that was created, and the one that I will be talking about for the rest of the presentation, evolve into kind of making sense. It's a show rooted in the margins of photography, intuition, and ambiguity. The concept for this exhibition is to create a space where my intuition and my obsession with structure collide, where meaning kind of hovers on the edge of nonsense, and order is always sleeping into experimentation. The artists that I chose work in the in-between, stretching the margins of artistic language, embracing contradiction, and resisting fixed categories. In my show, things kind of make sense, but not fully. The goal is to invite curiosity, to offer an experience that unfolds through feeling more than explanation. It's basically a show that just came out of a gut feeling, which has been a true challenge for me, and I'm glad that I'm exploring it here. So what drew me to this artist is how they lean into unpredictability. They kind of let intuition, process, and materiality lead and guide their work. They each challenge the clarity I once associated with photography, and in doing so, they just show how expansive the medium can be. Kind of making sense reflects my own shift towards working with what feels uncertain, institutional, and unresolved. So I'm going to show you some of the artists, or the artists that I pick. The first one is Louise Gonzalez. She is a photographer and an audiovisual artist. She pushes photography toward the physical and the improvised. In Capítulo 2, Las Utilidades, which roughly translates into Chapter 2, The Usefulness, she collects discharged objects from beaches and cities and arranging them into installations. Her work kind of sits somewhere between accident and intention, and for me, she captures what's often overlooked. Marula is an olfactory artist. She works with scent. In kind of making sense, her project Odor Sudor turns scent into something immersive and emotional. Her vaporized compositions subtly shift the feeling of the room, inviting visitors to engage beyond the visual. It's a quiet invitation to perceive differently through presence, sensation, and chemistry instead of what you're looking at. Florencia Levy is a multidisciplinary artist whose work is grounded in long-term research and documentary encounters. For this show, her research is looked through a more vulnerable, unstable lens where history and intimacy encounters. Heritage of Gesture, which is her work that I chose for this for this show, she builds narratives through interviews and observation, creating installations that blur the line between personal memory and collective experience. Martín Bolate is a visual artist, editor, and educator whose work explores the edges of photography and fiction. In kind of making sense, he pushes photography into conceptual terrain where narrative, memory, and perception are constantly reassembled. His work, Hermes UNESCO, uses AI to generate a vast sequence of strange hybrid objects. They kind of collapse past, present, and future into these visual myths. The result, as you can see, it's something familiar but not quite placeable. And for me, he reimagined is how we archive, believe, and look at things. My next steps for this project, I'm currently developing how this will be presented, how they will be physically arranged. I want the experience to feel physical and a bit disorienting, something that encourages visitors to move differently by and being curious and alert. So what I'm imagining so far is Lluel Gonzalez pieces. The larger pieces will define the room and they will disrupt the movement and change how people navigate the space. Levy's installation will be condensed into a very tight corner, very crowded, almost feeling like a hoarding experience. And Bolate's will take like a mixed media installation. There will be images from his work as well as some video and hopefully a 3D printed project. And I'm imagining something that feels kind of like a museum, a history museum display, just to play with the fiction and authority that his work brings. And Marules will be encasing the entire room with sand to shift how the space is filled. All of those choices come from, again, a gut feeling. I have an urge to make the experience physical, intuitive, and a little bit disorienting, hopefully to spark curiosity in the viewer. And that's my project. If you have questions, comments, or suggestions, please let them know.
Thank you very much, Maria Camila. Yeah, really nice. We have seen
Thank you, Erik.
We have seen you, of course, also struggling over the process of this and being, because you were never certain about it, but kind of. But at the moment you are. But I think that this uncertainty, which you also play with in your presentation, that's the best thing you can do. You know, I think a gut feeling and uncertainty, these are things that you maybe sometimes are a bit afraid of, but in this, you manage to have this really in the work, and in the end, that works out really nice, I think. So try not ever to make sense anymore. Huh?
Okay. Yeah, I'll just say whatever all the time now.
Yeah. Okay. Thank
you. Thank you so much, Erik. Thank you, Rosa, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Maria Camila. Let's go on. Now we have Farah.
Yes, hi. So I'll share my screen. Yes. So the project I'm presenting today is called Crawling on the Dust. It's a project that has been going on by the photographer Ali Zari, and I've been engaged in the project curatorially in ways that I was interesting to conceptualize layers of this project. So I thought I'd quickly read the curatorial description of the project and then take you to the world and the curatorial ideas. So Crawling on the Dust is a 10-year ongoing journey shaped by Ali Zari's friendship with Hajj Hani Sayed, a nomadic Bedouin in Egypt's Delta. Hani's family once took pride in their deep knowledge of navigating the lands, but now that knowledge no longer allows them to pursue this lifestyle they inherited because of the relentless sprawl of urban expansion and continuous change. Through Hani's family's different generations, Ali have witnessed different modes of imagining and otherwise. Some, like Hani, remain adhered to an inherited nomadic rhythm, moving between temporary lands. Others, like his son Selim, whom Ali photographed since his childhood, have sought escape across the Mediterranean. After nearly a year on a dangerous route, Selim made it to Italy, or reached Italy. Decades earlier, Hani also have tried the same route, but was pulled back to the nomadic life in Delta. These images wander with the everyday rhythms of a nomadic Bedouin life that is always on the move. We see it through the slow steps of a donkey, the harshness and the heat of tents, the long and tiresome routes of maneuvering urban overstretching, the intimate and complex relationship with animals. To understand what it means to belong to temporary lands and to reflect on alternative meanings of road, imagination, and crawling as a rhythm of resistance. With Hani, we move following something as unstable and uncertain as dust. I wanted to start with something I've already did, like curatorially did a smaller iteration that through this masterclass I wanted to expand further was, and this is what, Erik have been encouraging me to find my curatorial voice in the project, aside only of the photographs. And it was me being also a curator on the move and thinking of the images as always curated in a way that moves in different ways. So this was an iteration we did that I want to further develop alongside with other curatorial ideas I've been developing, which is to curate the experience of the images themselves being temporary as we see them. Beside like the moving images, I also curated them in a room beside it that has the concrete feel, which also speaks to the idea of the urban expansion that sort of hinders the movement. So it was in sort of like a juxtaposition of the moving images that are temporary through projections. These images were rather framed on concrete. And some were sort of like displayed on opposing buildings. So before telling you the curatorial ideas I developed in this masterclass, I want to take you quickly to the world of this project, the photographic world and the layers that I was trying to conceptually braid together and, interpret curatorially. So this is Hani, the sort of protagonist of the story. We start with the road and with friendship. With the tents and the layers, the tents also give us from the juxtaposition. So I always think of juxtaposition in this project between a very light, childish, happy hearts and Mickey Mouse's fabric of tents versus the heat and the harshness of tenting themselves as an experience. I've also collaborated with a designer to translate the different sort of places Hani's family keep on migrating to through over generations, actually more than 300 years, centering villages and towns that are not even written on the map. So centering the journey of Hani on the map and animating them to mimic the idea that being always on the move. And thinking about animal intimacy and also the juxtaposition between caring and killing. And you will see this in a moment. Between temporary lands and intimacy. I'm just moving quickly for the time, but I just wanted you to have an idea of the sequence we've I sort of chosen out of thousands of pictures that Ali have been taking for the past 10 years, trying to unpack these different layers between urban expansion, the dangerous routes and roads they have to take with their animals, their relationship with animals, and as I mentioned, the tents, and trying also not to romanticize tents in this project, and even subtly doing the juxtaposition between the nomadic life and the urban expansion. And again, thinking of the fabrics of the tents and the relationship. What does it mean to belong to a temporary land? I also want to curatorially play around repetition a lot, because this project is not about a specific event, it's rather about a rhythm of a nomadic life. So the repetition here is something I curatorially have been interested to navigate. An important layer of the project is that you slowly know that Selim Hani's son is currently, by this picture, is trying to migrate to Italy, and currently was, when this picture was taken, he was in a warehouse in Libya on an illegal and a dangerous road to Italy, not knowing if he will make it. And yeah, as I mentioned, this project is really interested in displaying and engaging with a complex relationship with animals, between caring and killing, because the reason they migrate and are on the road for generations is that they care so much for their animals and they migrate with them. But then eventually they're commodified or killed to be eaten. But how can we complicate this relationship? And then, yeah, Selim eventually made it to Italy. And by this layer, we always think of how different generations within the nomadic Bedouin families aspire differently and imagine otherwise about themselves. And because Hani himself have been trying to escape for generations, when he wrote a letter to Selim, whom Ali has been photographing since this age, he have written to him, this is a letter, but he wrote to him that not to look back at them, even if he as a father would die. He told him never to come back. So this was like quickly a journey through the visual world of this project. And I wanted to conclude by just mentioning how I've been thinking of curatorially how to display this. So as mentioned at the beginning, I want to still project the project that be always on the move, and do this exhibition in different places and using different mediums. So I've been thinking of 3 spaces. One that actually gives us the performative feel of it being on the move, as I've showed earlier, through projections. And the second location, I was interested to display the selection that subtly or indirectly engages with questions around friendship among us themselves, and also Ali as a photographer be present, and the human-animal intimacy. And in this location, the photographs wouldn't be framed to highlight the idea of instability. There would be a lot of images and stories on the floor that hinders the movement, given how common also stories that Ali have photographed that resembles the accidents and the loss of lives of the animals. And the interactive map would be projected with an engagement with the textures that speak to the fabrics of the tents. And the last location would engage with questions around ambition and land, and this would be more in a gallery style rather than an art space. And in this location, on contrast, the photographs would actually be grounded in ways that would be framed, because they would engage with layers about ambition and land, and thinking of the archives. So I wanted to conclude with this video because the archives is something I've still to work on, thinking of how special the archives they have is. Not only because visually it's very different, but also because the materiality of it is very interesting in ways that it's an archive on the move. So it's been affected by movement, by being held in plastic bags, by being also affected by the humidity and the heat. So that's something I want to sort of further explore. How can I engage with it curatorially without exoticizing the people in the archives, as well as can I project this on fabrics without romanticizing the experience of living in tents and being always on the move.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Farah, what is now the next step of this project? You have already places to show this in?
Yeah, we're in sort of like final confirmations of a few places. One is an art space and one is a gallery. And we've arranged also with a place where we will do the performance, the moving on performance.
What is the difference between an art space and a gallery?
So the art space is not the commercial kind of, very well polished kind of exhibiting. The art space, which accommodates installations and experimenting with the ways it could be displayed. While the gallery, I envisioned it to be the place where we have the polished, framed kind of photographs. And we're also working on the archives, curating the archives of this project into maybe, instead of it being exhibited, it could also be in a sort of like a dummy photo book where the materiality could be, elaborated further.
Yeah. I mean, what I like is, and we talked about that, it's also, like the story of this, that you transformed it into, I mean, of course, the story is always on the move. These people are on the move, but that you just put that also on the exhibition and on the curation, that there's a curation which is constantly hybrid and on the move, and that is really really nice to see. I mean, that's also very exciting starting point, and you can see that you have done many things with that. Really nice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erik. Thank you all for being part of this journey. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Farah. Now we have Grażyna.
Hello. Let me share the screen and please tell me if you see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go full screen. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Grażyna Siedlecka. I'm a freelance curator from Poland. And today I will present the Low Expectation project, which I've been developing here during this inspiring masterclass with Erik and with all the very supportive participants. So the starting point of my project was the thought. Most of us think of art galleries and museums as quiet, sober spaces, temples of importance where reverence is expected and laughter feels out of place. But does it have to be like this? Imagine if art galleries used parody as an exhibition strategy. Now imagine an old professor called Klaus Dinger von Becker, who loses his mind after being asked to exhibit contemporary art photography. Photography? Is photography even an art? He asked. While researching for the exhibition, von Becker was appealed at what he felt was a lack of seriousness in contemporary art photography. His search for great art transformed into an obsessive quest for what he hated most in the field. Thus sidetracked, he disappeared into the wild forest, never to return. His faithful assistant, Gretchen von Siedlecka, have unearthed his curatorial sketches, moldy and withered as they are, and brings them back to life. So what would the exhibition look like? It would be made of rooms created by Gretchen von Siedlecka and rooms created by Professor Klaus-Dinger von Becker. So generally, the project employs an experimental methodology of creating fictional personas of two curators, making narratives which are conflicting and subversive, and creating few layers in the structure. So the first two rooms would be a welcome room and mausoleum of serious arts. Both of them would be focusing on the philosophy and figure of Professor Klaus-Dinger von Becker. The third room would be the main room of the exhibition. It would be a central part, which would be showcasing the works of at least 20 or more international artists who employ humor as a strategy to engage with urgent political and social issues. The list is not official and it's not final. Here's just a couple of samples, but this is still in progress. The fourth room would be a very participatory and very interactive environment with different stations to play with. And the last room would be a farewell room, which would talk again about the professor and his story and the story of his disappearance. So generally, the low expectation challenges us to consider who, why, and how decides what is good and what is not, and what is good art and what is not good art or photography. And the main historical inspiration for me was Entartete Kunst, the infamous propaganda exhibition organized in Nazi Germany in 1937, which toured the country showcasing art deemed insulting or degenerate by the regime. And my project also draws from the spirit of the Salon de Refusé and the anarchic humor and irreverence of Dada and Surrealist exhibitions. And this is an attempt to create a new genre of exhibition, one that engages broader audiences through humor and play, while addressing serious issues and at the same time reflecting critically on the curators and institutions' role as mediators between art and the public. And the research remains in progress. So this is the end of my presentation. It is, as you can see, it's still in a progress, but the idea is there.
Thank you very much, Grażyna. Yeah, really, this is maybe also the most. You worked on a field that nobody knows yet, so that is also, I think, a big compliment for that, because it is, it got yourself even confused at the end of the process. So, but I think that is also very interesting, that you push yourself as a curator, as a somebody, being fascinated by things, and then you. Sometimes you don't know where to end up, but I think this is a very exciting idea, a very exciting proposition. Really nice.
Thank you, Erik, and thank you for your support and help.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone else also. You've been super supportive, and I'm super happy to meet you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grażyna. Now it's time for Vanessa.
Hello, everyone. And I'm gonna go full. You see the full screen? No.
Yes.
Yes.
No. Okay. If you keep it like this, so we can see all the page.
Okay. So this is, after a lot of work and change of ideas, my manual on how to become a good girl, from 1 to 30 with 0 expectations. I am a photographer from Italy, and I have a background in fashion photography. But in the last couple of years, I started to be very interested in archival and vernacular photography, being very, very interested in my family story. And time by time, let's say, whether I feel disconnected from my story, I put myself into the archive and obsessively look at it. And thanks to this, I came up with a little fanzine a couple of years ago that was called How to Use Your Hands. And after this little fanzine, I started to think on how my eye always goes to my gestures day by day in all the pictures that I have. Born from an obsession for archives. With Erik, we did a sort of we reasoned more deeply and decided to create a real survival manual on. Sorry, I'm a bit emotional. Sorry, guys. With Erik, we reasoned more deeply and decided to create a real survival manual that follows a growth path regarding my personal story through the gestures of my hands, and where the images follow a very precise timeline. Erik helped me, but sorry if I interrupt, guys, but I think that this is not the best way to look at the document, because I would love to see it in 2 pages.
Vanessa, you can try to stop sharing and share the entire screen.
Okay.
So maybe...
Allora. Yes, okay, 1 second. Because I get confused if I cannot see it properly.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Okay.
Perfect.
So I was saying that through this process, Erik helped me to get out from my comfort zone by pushing me where he knew he could. Of course, helping me to be honest and to do a sort of an all-in with some images. The images, together with the passage of the time, they change. The realization changes, and from the family archive, we move slowly to the photos taken by my friends, self-portraits, photos taken through WhatsApp, Facebook, and various archives, because I didn't want to stop only to look into the family archive. And I've seen tens of thousands of pictures, and I chose the gestures that accompanied, let's say, my story slowly. Sometimes the sentences that accompany the images are extremely didactic and descriptive, but some other times they are very ironic or dark, because as the time passes, also the devices that I used have evolved and changed, and also the gestures are more serious and thought. The choice to start by a precise timeline, which was from, of course, childhood until 30 years, or which I am now. It's a choice, how to say, it comes from the thought that as children, we act based on instinct and not by experience. And the gestures are always spontaneous and sometimes comical. But as we grow, the gestures become more conscious. They always have a weight, a goal, and because the gestures are conditioned by experiences. And the hands slowly, at least for me, they became my protection and the way of being and acting and accompany my sometimes wrong decisions that are always conscious. Of course, the choice of looking at the hands, of course, the hands are a symbol. It's not like that. I think that life and the phases of life are underlined by hands, but I think it's a symbol of how the gestures are always underlining every single experience of our daily life. This is a project that made me very nauseous and excited and happy, sometimes sad, but made me very self-conscious of all the lacks that I have in my life, or all the experiences that I went through. It was very cathartic, I'd say. And I'm very happy that I had the chance to take my time to do this process, because as everybody knows, I was a bit blocked for a long time, and Erik and Rosa gave me the opportunity to express myself, even if with a lot of confusion at the beginning. Let's say that this is, of course, a course that was thought to become let's say, an exhibition. But I think at the end, this project will become a book. But I also think that without this book, I couldn't have an exhibition. And the next steps of this work will be to do a video from childhood until today, using always zooms on the hands, and to work with a graphic designer that could help me, of course, to do a better graphic job. And that's it.
Very nice. Thank you, Vanessa. Yeah, I mean, it was a process of, but now you have like quite nice to, when you slowly go through the whole book, it's very beautiful and you read the text. I mean, of course, now we cannot do that all, but when you now slowly go through the images and the text, it's really a beautiful story. I mean, it says, it's a story of one person through the hands, and that's something from hard times to good times, from back to hard times again. It's really touching. Yeah, very nice. Thank you for pushing yourself. Huh?
Thanks.
You can be emotional now. Okay.
Grazie, Vanessa.
Yeah.
Now it's time for, we have Giulia.
Yeah. Can you see this?
Yeah.
But not full screen, or?
No, not full screen.
Yes, full screen. Yeah, it's full screen, I think.
It is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, so hello, my name is Julia Heurling. I'm a designer, artist, and researcher based in Stockholm, Sweden. And I have background as a pattern designer, but now I work primarily with photography. And I entered this course to come up with an exhibition proposal which summarizes works which go back for about 10 years. And I landed now in calling it Echoes, with some help from Erik, just looking at the titles of the works. I'm quite happy with that now. So I'm gonna read the proposal. An echo usually refers to the recurrence of a sound caused by reflection. In a wider sense, it can be understood as resemblance of something else. It may arise as a reaction, response, or memory. As phenomenon, it may apply to sound, ideas, or visual features. A photograph can echo a visual experience. Echoes operate through repetition, and as an artist, I'm most interested in visual inquiries at the meeting point between photography and pattern. So this work takes on repetition as method to critique image and reflect on aspects of representation in photography. So in this presentation, I will show you typology, sequence, and pattern compositions, which explores how photographs are synthesized in reach for a narrative beyond content of separate singular images. So I'm going to show you then works and visualizations of how they can be presented in spaces. So first here, 40-second beach, project from a residency in Catalonia, where I took photos of a beach in interval. So it's put together as a linear timeline. So this is the full sequence. and this is a visualization and proposition of how it could be placed in a space. Yeah, which could dissolve the work and yeah, make it like 3-dimensional, maybe play on the idea of a wave as well, have the lamels move. And here's another work, Horizon is Not Flat, also from Kefalonia, which explores how pattern made from sequences open for alternative ways to think about time, which emphasize continuity and flow rather than frozen singular moments of single photographs. So here are examples of these sequence patterns. At the top is the original sequence. Here's another example. And there's another one. And here then I have presented them as, yeah, the idea is to make it more like immersive, but also to reflect on the idea of, yeah, like a time aspect and rhythm as an aspect of time. But of course, any viewer can make their own interpretations, but yeah, it's interesting to make it like really become really close when you make it a U-shape. So here then, Irregularities, project from Buenos Aires, where I photographed broken parts in the ground, and it ended up in, I made a typology, which for me, I think it's interesting because it somehow captures like a characterization of the city of Buenos Aires in a very raw but beautiful way. So I made, yeah, this is like complete overview of the photographs. And then I made this visualization to place them on the floor. In a quite raw gallery space. Yeah. Here another work from Buenos Aires, Flow, which captures images of traffic. And again, here there's a reference to time. And I've been thinking about like what does traffic look like? Is there a way to compress and synthesize the experience of traffic through photography? So I made a few of these works, which really emphasize the idea of traffic, or like the relation between a pedestrian and traffic. And then I made this as a try out how to make the images as objects in space, which stand on their own. Yeah. Then we have the Echoes project, which is from Norway residency, which where I took photographs of the landscape to reach beyond the obvious depictions of the landscape, to make it more like an abstract interpretation. So here I made both prints, and also I made these sphere models, which in a way can be seen as like the opposite of a photograph. It becomes like the opposite of a cutout of something, because it rather is like its own entity or object or planet. And then Nida Forest Sequences is a project where I worked with 3-dimensional ideas of how to depict the forest. So I did both works which can be placed like this in a large large scale models. And also I wanted to really focus on the original idea of the small scale sketches. So then I made this book also from the Nida forest, where I took photos of paths in the forest, which you can flip through, and every sequence changes when you flip through it. And I just want to say there's also like a film to be seen from this the book. It gives a better impression of what the book is really about. Then finally, I want to present the work Car Marks, which is photographs of marks in the snow where cars have been parked. So I think it's really interesting how it represents both cars, but also like the opposite or the absence of cars. And also I think it's interesting that there's a reference to the idea of photogram, like the photographic idea when you leave a mark on a photographic paper just through exposure. So here is the typology collection of car marks I have made so far. And here's a suggestion of how to put it in exhibition space. Yes, that was all I had to show you. Thank you so much.
Very nice, Julia. Yeah, I mean, it's the first time we also see it all together. Huh? Like that's very nice. I think during the course, I mean, there's a lot of discussion, a lot of uncertainty from your side about things, but I think that now you have a document where you really, I mean, the renderings look good, the work is already good, but I mean, some work is from 2015, but and some from later and some quite recent, but it's quite nice that it's all together now, and I think you can be very confident to show this and also to show it around and to pitch this. I mean, the ideas for the curation really help your work and make it. We worked hard on this, or you worked hard on this also the last month, and I think it's really, congratulations, really nice. I think, definitely. Others will agree, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm super happy. I mean, as you know, I had some hesitations, and I did not really expect what to make.
That's also very nice that the almost the last words in the whole workshop that you say, "I'm super happy," because you did not say that before yet.
Yeah. Oh, but I mean,
nice.
I'm happy with the, like the achievement of that I actually made it. It's and also it makes justice for the work. So I'm really happy. Yeah.
Very nice. Thanks a lot for your you pushed a lot. That was good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. It's nice to see how your work as well evolved so much during these months together. Now we have Casper.
Hi. Okay. Okay. So you see my screen right now, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So let me just finish installing and just share some progress and documentation about this solo exhibition. Just happened in Chicago. So let me remind my project with you a little bit. So my project is about the islands that in between Taiwan and China, which is suffering from there's larger squid fishing vessels that like surround the island catch the squid. So which is just like 8 miles away, so you can see it like very clearly about like what's happening in China, like and Taiwan, no matter it's during the daytime or nighttime. And so it became a military front line like 40 years ago. So it's under a huge military curfews and under strict martial law for 40 years. Since like 1960 to 70s, like there's a lot of like sailboats, right? Like started to do some secret activities, no matter it's fishing or military activities, like with their sailboats, like in daytime. But now, like started in 2021, like it becomes like these eerie like green LED squid fishing vessels that fishing the squid like in between the sea. So started in 2021, like this is the light pollution map doing on that strait of water. So you can see that in the middle is the island, and this is the light pollution map that in 2022. So the place that with pink circle that is the position of the island. So so this is from the satellite view, and this is from like my view like on the island. It's the perspective that looking toward China from Taiwan. So you can see those green lights that dye the sky into green. And also there's bioluminescence that on that island during night. So these light pollution is like huge polluted this kind of natural landscape. So last year I took on the ferry service, like mini 3 links to China. Like it's only 20 minutes to China. I bring my drones and my cameras there, and you can see there's like almost like 6,000 vessels that in China during this industrial fishing. So my main goal in masterclass is trying to curate curate my work and put them into an exhibition. So and my main question is like, which is greener? Like you can see like these two perspectives toward the same art. And so and also there's very different elements and different lights that happen on these two perspectives. So I decided to separate them into and also these so what's related to the United States is that all these squid that caught by Chinese fish vessels that are imported to to America and become our fried calamari like on our table. So my goal or like my plan for this exhibition is trying to separate them into two locations that show two different perspectives from this toward the same green light. And I'm gonna show you I'm gonna share with you the first exhibition that the documentation of this exhibition. So as you can see, the space is hybrid with and also the traditional track lights in the gallery. So my idea is to mix them together with the LED and the daylight from the window. this is my artist statement. And also I use a lot of spotlights and LED screens and light box. So in the nighttime, that there's only the main light in the space is only from the screen that has a video that I recorded from this sublime phenomenon. And so the green lights will will fill the space. So almost every corner has its own has the green light. So and also with the spotlight, so basically the space is pretty dark, and it's emphasized with the spotlight and the light box. And from screen, place the screen, the TV at the corner of the space. So so when you stand in front of the screen, you can see no matter it's a light box or from every angle. And this is the work that I that I incorporate with the sunlight, which is the LED, the solar powered keychain. It becomes the light detector in the space. So it was started to flicker when during daytime, but couldn't be dark in the night. So this is like a full view. So on the another half of the room is completely dark with only spotted light. And finally, I would like to share this small secret spot that is completely without light. It's a very dark print with sparkles of bioluminescence on it. So you could only see it after these strong green lights was shine on your eye, and your eye will adjust it a little bit more after you enter this corner into dark, completely dark space. Yeah, this is my the end presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Casper.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, your journey with this project is not over yet, probably. I mean, maybe you made the work already, but now you show this first version of the exhibition. But yeah, I mean, I think you should also pitch the exhibition in other places, because it's really and also in exhibitions where you actually can feed squid to the visitors, because that was something you are not allowed to do now. But I mean, that will make the exhibition complete. So no, I mean, yeah, this is a very beautiful project, with a very strong, very confronting also in a very subtle way, and so that deserves to be shown also in a lot of other places. But it's really, yeah, it's really nice how you very subtly also, yeah, your curation is really also by intuition and by feeling and it is really good to how you do that. I mean, it's something to admire. Yeah, very good.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for support. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And push on, eh? You have to push. Okay.
Thank you, Casper. Now it's time for Aline.
Aline is still her microphone off.
Okay, let's get here. So first I want to thank the PhMuseum for even conceiving of this really terrific program, and thank you to Rosa for all your help. thank you to the whole class for your inspiration. And of course, thank you to Erik for teaching us, leading us with humor and grace, and sometimes pushing us beyond our comfort zones. So I took the course to expand on an exhibition that I had already produced. And in discussing my goals with Erik, I also mentioned that I had a number of small books that I had been needing to get out and hadn't had time to work on. And so he encouraged me to do that. And so for this class, I created a book that I've been wanting to create. And the irony of doing this is I now have lots of ideas of expanding this into an exhibition. And you'll see that this is a collection of a certain theme, and I'm now expanding that collection with animals and other ideas. So anyway, I'll go through. And I want to just go back to the opening image of the smile that is a little bit crooked. And Erik very kindly took the publication and just added his flourish. And when I saw the thing that he added, which was the line, it was such a small, simple gesture, but it really connected it. And I'm really appreciative of his eye and adding that. So this work is really about looking at trauma with humor. And those are two, that's something that I have a good sense of humor, and I laugh a lot, and I make work with humor. But, looking at something that happened to me and trying to figure out how I'm going to express it with a sense of humor. And I came up with the idea of really looking at women and children who were dealing with their own traumas. And I love just looking at photos where both of these women are fairly injured, but they're both still performing for the camera. They're not really taking into account what they look like at the moment. And then this is my text. In 2020, I discovered a small bump on my cheek, slightly larger than a grain of sand. In 2021, I had a 9-hour surgery to remove the cancer and a second 5-hour surgery using 200 stitches to put me back together. And in 2025, I'm still processing the trauma and learning to smile. And then I wrote a poem about sort of going through the experience. And this is the end pages.
Would you like to read the poem,
Sure.
Aline?
I didn't think there would be so many tears, stoic but less brave than I had hoped. Hours of crying without shedding a tear, shaped into something new. A face full of seams cut like a sewing pattern I once knew so well. The topology of my face covered in white gauze like fallen snow, I block my reflection and know that I have changed. In the summer, I lost my sense of smell. In the fall, I can only smile with one side of my face. In the winter and spring, I soldier on, incomplete, shaped into something new.
Yeah,
And
very
there's that slant again, which I am very appreciative of. But I now am like really excited to think about how I can keep expanding this work. So I really thank you, Erik. You've been an incredible guide to all of us.
Yeah, my pleasure. No, but I mean, it's really good how you. I mean, it's also nice now to take it further, like because it's a really specific selection of images, and it's a really personal work. So let's see what comes out of it. I mean, first you have to make the book, but then
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm also thinking of binding the book with red stitches.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Was great. Really nice. Thanks.
Thank you, Lynn. Now we have Ashima. I will help her sharing the screen. Ashima, can
Thank you, Rosa. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, wait a moment. Appunto, yeah. Ok, share. Yes, applicazione. Okay, can you see it?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay,
Thank
now
you,
it's
Rosa.
free.
Hi, my name is Ashima Yadav. My background is in documentary photography, and the last couple of years I've made a little bit of a shift into more conceptual space. And I still work on long form stories. And with this project, this started about 3 years ago when the US courts decided to reverse Roe v. Wade, which was the abortion ban. And so this work was born out of that frustration, because having been born and raised in India and then moving here because America promised me a better life in a lot of ways. And so to have that taken away was really a punch in the gut. And as I started reaching out to people, I knew I was not alone in what I was feeling, and that rage just kind of needed to find a way out. So if you go to the next screen, Rosa, this is an exhibition overview. So Haq translates to truth and rights in Urdu Arabic. And I Seek No Favor comes from Audre Lorde's poem, A Woman Speaks. And this multilingual title reflects the multicultural identities that this abortion ban affects. And so this brings together over 100 artists, writers, thinkers as a collective response to the ban. And it is in my way of sort of presenting a way that we can react as a society. I don't think laws are set in stone, and they can be as flawed as the people who design them. So how do you react when you're overcome with this sort of helplessness, which now has since grown, and this project continues to grow. It's an ongoing dialogue. We did release a 50-page newsprint. And you can see, so the premise of the entire project is I took the 213-page court decision that reversed Roe v. Wade and divided into 50 parts and gave it to 50 artists, which came out to 4.2. And so every artist got 4 pages from the Supreme Court decision. And each piece, each work that you will now see, some of them you'll now see, is a reaction to their unique 4 pages. And it started with me starting to, make haikus out of these pages just to be able to make sense of. So I'm trying to show you the evolution of this project and how it came into being. And if you go to the next slide, please, Rosa. Can we go to the next? Yeah. This is the website, and you can see a lot of these pieces on the website.
Rosa, you go one
to
back. Yeah.
Yeah. These it is an ever evolving living piece of document. As new artists and new people add voices to the project, it grows. And you can see on behind each name is their unique 4 pages that are part of the project. And so we can go to the next one, Rosa, please. This is Eliza Gregory, who's an educator and an artist in Sacramento. And she works a lot with her work is a lot about the relationship to land. And so she makes this point about how this is not really the first sort of malfeasance in that sense. This has been an ongoing problem, and there are ways to address it. We go to the next one. Is someone who you just met, Aline Smithson, who took her 4 pages, and you can see when she makes these cuts into these images of women, and you can see the verdict, the court pages come out of these images. Justine Kurland used Lee Friedlander's cover of the book Nudes and painted a vagina basically on top of it. Aspen Mays, who's also a Bay Area artist, made a photogram and cut out the bit of the text that was in the page. And the only thing she left there is, "We end this opinion where we began." This is a video, Rosa, if you could click on this is Delphine Fawando, New York-based, incredible artists. This piece is on fabric, and it's a large piece. And you can see there are 2 layers to that piece. That you can see the text in the back. It's silk, and so there's text in the back, and then the front one is these human figures that are incredible. And so there's a lot of multi-formats and different sort of mediums that are part of this project, which makes it quite challenging because there's no linear way of showing it. We can go to the next one. This is my personal contribution to the project. Amrita Shergill, who you see the largest black and white image in the back, and the colored pieces are her paintings, and the black and white silhouettes are my lino cuts. It pays homage to Amrita Shergill, was the pioneer of modern Indian art in India, and she died of a botched-up abortion at 28. And so this piece pays an homage to anyone who does not have access to safe abortion and healthcare. This is Pamela Sneed, who is a poet and an artist based in New York again. On the right side, you see her nipple prints over the verdict. And then to the left, paying homage to Mahsa Amini, the Iranian woman who was murdered by the morality police. And so she's making that sort of a point about how this is an intersectional issue that spans beyond the US borders and how it really affects every conversation around the globe. And so I've, over the last 3 years, shown this work in various places in various formats and iterations. So what you're seeing right now is the newsprint itself that we brought out. This is at RISD, Rhode Island School of Design on the East Coast. And we just took the pages from the zine and pasted them as is in order to make it very accessible and look very democratic. So each piece, just gets plastered onto the wall and you can get up close to it and sort of, I think the core in this project is really to not have these pieces feel like they're precious artworks, but they're more accessible. So they can inspire that dialogue that any one of us can really react to this. And, you can't just give in to some of these things that happen in the world. So we keep going. This is another iteration where I used Optium plexiglass just to protect some of these pieces, but also so people could really get up close to them and they don't feel precious in ways. And there's just really a variety of them all over. And so this is sort of where when I came into this masterclass, I think what was amazing was Erik just fanning all of my wild ideas and really saying go to town with it, because I think I was still very stuck in the ego phase. I was still very stuck in what Erik likes to call the ego phase. And I was very stuck in like my own thoughts about how this should be presented and all that. I was not allowing myself to test my own limits and go beyond, and really start to trust what I was feeling and wanting to do with this project. And so as I started to research in our conversations over the past month and across 3 continents, Rosa, can we go to the next slide? I was starting to research and find different ways that people had been doing these sort of installations and how I could expand those. And so it was back to the drawing board. If you go to the next one, Rosa, I started drawing these. I think the one learning that I've had with this project in the past shows that I've done is that people often do not sometimes register that these works come from the 4 pages that each artist is assigned. And so I started to draw, like, what if I built curtains and these sheets with the 4 pages that people could walk through or engage with in some ways. And so these are some of those drawings, like what would a curtain look like? What would the artworks in different shapes and sizes look like? And then what if I plastered all the pages across the room, ceiling, walls, floor, and then put the pages in there? So these are all different ways that I've been playing with the idea. And again, renderings of creating those things, what they might look like. And then I finally got to this, before you play it, Rosa, once. Oh, no, can we go? Yeah. So in my ideal sort of setup, no, can we go back to the video, please? We can play it actually. There would be a room where you walk in the beginning that you see to the left, and then all these little net things that you see, I couldn't find a way to make the pages. So I make these little mesh, whatever I could find in this particular program. The white mesh that you see, imagine those to be the pages that are hanging off the walls, and then there are artworks in between. And when you look at it from a distance, it is the shape of a uterus. And so this is where I'm sort of, so imagine it to be a maze, and the audience and the viewers walk through these mazes. And when you see the map of it, when you're given, or perhaps AI, or I don't know, augmented reality, some sort of a way to basically, when you finally have walked through it, you realize you've actually been walking inside the uterus. So it really hits it home. And then the room that you see at the bottom is the room where that whole floor to ceiling pages are plastered. So that is where you enter the exhibition. And then there is this giant room with all these paper curtains and artworks that go in. And so this is sort of where I've landed now. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Also nice, again, that you, because this is a project that is going on for some time already, and but also good to see how you transformed it into something that has now a new life, also has more your hand also in it as a organizer and as a curator of it. Like that. Yeah, it's very. I think this is new to all the people that they haven't seen that yet. So it's really well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Erik. Thank you, Rosa, for all your help, and thanks for helping me expand my own horizons with this. Thanks.
Thank you, Ashima. Now we have Lorraine.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
No?
Yes.
Yes.
We can hear you.
Perfect. Okay. I'm actually okay. Put it on my yes. And now we can also see, I hope. Can you see this?
No, we don't see. We see you.
You see me. Okay. then again.
Yeah, now we see your
Okay, perfect. Sorry. So, like, I slightly changed my project, as Erik knows. I started to work in a silk factory, but not like in an ancient silk factory. So now it's an empty space. And back in the days, like in the 1950s, there were around 150 silk workers that were all women, and around 3 to 5 men that organized the workers. So our projects that we developed here played around this, and the archive that we found was mostly destroyed or like kind of very damaged. So these are some scans that I found, but I could not really understand what it is. So yeah, in a way, it was completely free to us what we see. But for example, in this photo, when I zoomed in, I found this like silhouette of a woman. So there was a second part of the project where basically today the women that worked in the 1950s in the silk factory are still alive and still live here in this. I'm sorry, I didn't say it, but I'm in the north of Italy at the moment. And these silk workers like still live here. There are also old photos of them, a lot of group photos where they post in front of churches once a year. They made like some kind of, how do you say, like a day off, but they still spent together. So there were these women that I found looked a bit suspicious, like for example her. I really liked her also. And found also her over here that I found was very interesting. The way she holds her hands, the way her friend is grabbing her arm, but at the same time turning away. And in a way, I made up a little story about them. But at the same time, I also met a couple of these women, like in real life, and developed a project where basically I took their photo in a kind of studio situation. They're around 80, some of them are 90 years old, some of them are 70, depends, because it also were, a couple of them started as children to work here, or like when they were really young women. And then I asked them to write something on the photo. Some of them we visited at home, or some of them just came like today actually to the exhibition and wrote something on their photo. Like it was free of them to choose what they wanted to share, like with the audience. And so I also found one of the women that was in the photo that I thought looks a little bit suspicious. And I found her like in real life, and her name was Millie. And the idea is that Millie like kind of gave me a couple of her photos, and in between like memory and a little bit of fantasy, we kind of created this project that she had this collective that were like feminists in the 1950s that made art like secretly and going to this abandoned villa that is here in the area. And they also, for example, wanted to make an exhibition that never could take place because like no one wanted to show them. So this is like the poster that they had for the exhibition. Their name was Fulminaria, which is like kind of the flashing ones in Italian, but maybe Rosa can make the better translation. And so here's the villa in the back of the photo. They were doing like performances, and they had like this group. That's the 5 of them. And yeah, so all of these photos that I found and all of these photos that I made up, I kind of created a little story with 5 characters that I thought were really interesting, and took out 6 photos that are 3 of them like shot by me, where I recreated their situation as a worker, their life in the silk factory, but also with the secret, like the secret that is made in this like kind of silk, but inside the symbol there, because I constantly found a symbol that looks a little bit like a star that's here in the middle of the silk, and nobody could really explain me what it is about. So this is the archive that I found and made up. So the symbol could also be the fountain that is in the middle of the villa. And it's all a little bit confusing still for me, all still in work in progress. And these, yeah, kind of 6 images. Here's the fountain again. I thought I could like put together in like kind of the same octagon that I found constantly like in the photos, in the symbol, and show in the original silk factory. So that was the idea. And yeah, for example, the pictures can be like light boxes around in the windows, and show the original photos that I found where they look kind of suspicious, where they have like this kind of secret in the group photo, and all of these pictures or these crops are out of one group photo. Yes, and to go back, I just can now stop, and I'm now in the space, so you can have a little preview of the exhibition, which is really nice. I didn't thought about it, but also like, for example, the light boxes, you can see through the like the fake silk basically. And then inside of this octagon, I thought you can also put, like I'm still on it, it's not open yet, but I wanted to put the archive, like put, for example, these are like silk cocoons where you make the silk out of it. Here's the photo where you can't see anything anymore. Here, for example, are the glasses that I found somewhere. Here's some shoes. There's still paint on them. Yeah. And so this is like my presentation. I hope you liked it.
Very nice, Lorraine. Really nice.
Thank you.
We are in the exhibition.
Yes.
No, I mean, you worked for a long time on other ideas, and this is like something that came up very quickly recently. And but it's very nice to see. I mean, here you, for the first time, you really have like a narration and a storytelling. You know, like you have a fictive or real story or a combination of it. And the good thing is that you pushed yourself, because you have done many other exhibitions, but mostly in a similar kind of vibe, while this one is really different. It's really nice. I think we did you hear the last? Oh.
Yes. I go back to the closer
to your original position, because otherwise.
Yeah.
When does it open, the exhibition?
Tomorrow.
Okay. Good timing.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes. Yes. I'm also very happy about it, because I found a project where I can constantly work on, and I know I can still find ideas and still like, yeah, I don't know, get maniac about. And that's.
But this is the first time you do an exhibition like this, with involving many different layers, many different sources of images, and also many techniques, huh?
Yes, yeah, exactly. But I'm very happy about it, because I was also like thinking how to involve paint into my photography, and then I thought, like, if I paint over the images, like, you have a lot of thoughts, and then you're like kind of suddenly but maybe there's this painter in the north of Italy, and you just found the painting. So yeah, there are a couple of things like that I'm really happy about. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Erik, for this for this course, and for the feedbacks, the very fruitful. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you,
Thank you.
whole group, because it's great to see. I still remember how you started at the beginning of the masterclass and how your project were at the beginning, at the first phase, and now I see that all of you really grew up a lot, and also your project, and it's crazy to see how all the mock-ups, and in this case, the real exhibition is already there. And, yeah, I mean, thank you very much, guys. It was very cool to be with you in this path in these 8 months. And thank you, Erik, as well, for being again the professor of this masterclass. We thank you for your collaboration as well this year.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so I will say this is all. I will hand the streaming, and then we will keep 15, 10 minutes all together for the official private greetings. Let's end stream. Ok, è finita. Perfetto.